For centuries, a really simple idea has pretty much shaped the fate of empires and, the lives of billions of people. Where you are on the map determines who you can become. But in a world of artificial intelligence, instant communication, and global markets, is that still true? Is geography still destiny? I mean, really think about it for a second. We can send a message across the entire planet in a blink of an eye. A drone can be piloted from thousands of miles away. So, in this new age, does a mountain range or a coastline or some line drawn on a map by politicians 100 years ago, does it still hold the same power over our world? That's the huge question we're digging into today. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the classic view of the world as this giant strategic game. Then, we're going to explore the epic debate from the 20th century, land power versus sea power. After that, we hit the big one. Has technology made all of this totally obsolete? From there, we'll see how technology has actually created a new kind of territory. And finally, we'll try to figure out what's the next move on this new global chessboard. All right, let's jump into part one, this classic idea of the world as one great big chessboard. The name of the game played on this board is geopolitics. So what does that actually mean? Well, at its core, it's the constant struggle by nations to control places, territories, and key routes, and then use that control to get an advantage on the world stage. It's really all about turning your location into leverage. And nobody painted this picture better than the famous strategist Zbigniew Brzezinski. He famously said that the huge continent of Eurasia, that is the central board. The power that can dominate that region, he argued, has the best shot at dominating the entire world. It's a super high-stakes game where every single move is about controlling key squares on the map. For a huge chunk of the 20th century, the master strategists were basically split into two camps about how to win this game. It all boiled down to one fundamental debate. What's more important, controlling the land or controlling the sea? On one side, you had this guy, Sir Alfred Mackinder, and his heartland theory. He said the real pivot of world history was the vast interior of Eurasia, a resource-rich fortress he called the Heartland. His famous line was, "Who rules the heartland commands the world island, who rules the world island commands the world." So for him, land power was everything. But on the other side, you had Alfred Thayer Mahan, who argued that no, true global power comes from the sea. If you control the oceans, you control trade. If you control trade, you control the world's wealth and can project your power absolutely anywhere. And Mahan was incredibly detailed about this. I mean, as you can see, he argued it wasn't just about building a huge navy. He laid out these 6 conditions. Some were tangible things, like a nation's geography and resources, but others were totally intangible, like having a population with an aptitude for the sea and a government that was actually determined to rule the waves. It was basically a complete blueprint for becoming a global superpower. But then, everything started to change. A new, really powerful argument began to take hold that threatened to make both Mackinder and Mahan totally irrelevant. And the argument was simple. Technology has killed geography. Just look at this progression. First, the steamship made crossing oceans way easier. Then, the airplane just flew right over mountains and seas like they weren't even there. Then came ballistic missiles, which meant that no capital city on Earth was safe. And finally, the internet basically made physical distance meaningless for communication. It felt like each new invention was just another nail in geography's coffin. Futurists like Alvin Toffler saw this happening and made a really bold prediction. We were witnessing the death of geography. They believed technology would create a flat world where your physical location just didn't matter anymore. A business in the middle of America could compete with one in Japan just as easily. And this idea is still very much alive today. A modern critic, Christopher Fettweis, puts it pretty bluntly. He says technology has freed us from earthly limitations. The old rules, the old maps, the whole idea that geography holds us back, he argues it's a thing of the past. So, is he right? Or, what if technology didn't kill geography? What if it just created an entirely new one? A new kind of territory to be fought over?
And that brings us to the heart of our argument in this 4th section. See, technology didn't get rid of the game of geopolitics, it just added a whole new digital dimension to the chessboard.
In this new landscape, the most valuable resource isn't oil or wheat or gold anymore, it's data. Data has become the strategic asset of the 21st century. It's the fuel for modern economies and the engine for military power. And the new strategic high ground isn't some mountain pass. It's control over what we call frontier technologies. Think about it. Leadership in AI doesn't just drive your economy, it creates smarter weapons. Dominance in 5G doesn't just mean faster downloads for us, it means controlling the central nervous system of global communication. This is the new terrain where the real global competition is happening.
So, a good way to think of it is like this. You know that massive web of undersea fiber optic cables that carries like 99% of all internet data? Well, those are the new shipping lanes. And the race to build and control the world's 5G network? That's today's version of the fight for naval supremacy. The principles are the same, but the territory has gone digital.
Okay, so if we're all playing on this new blended chessboard, part physical, part digital, what's the next move? I mean, where is all of this heading? Well, the first thing we get is that it's not shaping up to be a simple two-player game, like the old US-Soviet Cold War. Instead, what analysts are seeing is something called loose multipolarity, a world where, yeah, the US and China are the two biggest players, but other powers like India, Japan, and the European Union are on the board, and they have their own influence and make their own moves. This table kind of maps out a few ways this could all play out. If you look at the top row, you have bipolar competition, where both the US and China stay strong, leading to a tense but maybe stable world. The next two scenarios, imagine a world where one of them gets a clear upper hand. But the one that's really concerning is that last one, chaotic multipolarity, where both are weakened and the world becomes fragmented and much more unstable. Which path we go down will really depend on things like alliances and who leads in technology. And that brings us right back to where we started. Geography isn't dead. It's just been transformed. The old struggles over land and sea now have a twin struggle happening in the digital world. And that leaves us with the defining geopolitical question of our era. What's the real key to global power now? Is it still about controlling Mackinder's physical heartland in Eurasia? Or is it about dominating the new digital heartland, the networks, the data, and the technologies that now run our entire world? The answer to that is going to define the next century.